Josiah with Frontier Justice. Welcome back. We've got another episode of our series that we've started called Rental Fleet Review, where we're taking a look and test trialing some of the stuff that's on our rental fleet at our locations. So for here today, I'm shooting something I've never shot before. I'm shooting the new Ruger in collaboration with Magpul, their RXM. This is something that I think is really cool. It's compatible with the Gen 3 Glock platforms and accessories inside of that ecosystem. It's really similar to the overall size of the Glock 19, so it's going to interact with their 15-round mags or longer. The cool thing about this gun, as we go through the series, obviously it's going to be stock, unlike our base assessment where it was my everyday carry gun with a red dot and some other accessories. This one's out of the box. It's factory. It does come optics ready, so it's compatible if you wanted to add a red dot to it. But the cool thing about it is what they've engineered is a fire control unit, which a couple of other manufacturers in the industry do offer. But with their collaboration with Magpul, you can do different grip modules, different sizes. So this one here is the one that comes stock with it, similar to the Glock 19, aggressive texturing on there. The trigger is also a little bit different from what you'd experience on a traditional Glock. So I'm excited to try this one out and see how it ranks up here through our rental fleet review. All right, so here we go. We're getting started with our live fire first impressions. So the first 50 rounds here are going to be slow fire. We're not going to be recording our shot time. We just want to get some impressions of the gun. So we're starting off, we're going to do 10 rounds at 5 yards and just kind of see how it feels. Again, I've never shot this before, so we're just going to get a feel for it. Slow fire, minimal stress. Let's just get some impressions. All right, I lost count there. I think that was at least 10. Okay, so first impressions out of the gate. Again, I've never shot this before. Luckily, it does interact with the Glock platform accessories, so it feels somewhat familiar for me. The break and the reset of the trigger was something that took me a little bit of a second to get used to. So even at this close distance, I'm seeing some information from my target. For my last 5 or 6 sustained rounds, I'm actually pretty tight there, but my point of aim, that first shot, kind of midline of the target, is really where I was holding. So that tells me that through my grip pressure or my placement on this gun, as I go to activate the trigger, I'm not managing my process well enough, and that's what's causing some movement. So I want to keep that in mind as I continue on. I'm going to shoot a little bit further, and we'll see if that shot grouping now opens up. All right, continuing on. So we've adjusted our distance. We're now at 7 yards. We're going to do 10 rounds again, slow fire. One of the things I noticed on this one, it's kind of the Gen 3 compatibility, so the magazine release is much smaller than I'm used to, so that's just something of note that I'm feeling already. So here we go, 10 rounds, a little bit further away. Okay, so I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. The sights are a little bit different. It took me a second there. So the front sight does have the night sight, like the tritium in there, but it's a blacked out rear sight. So for a couple of these, as I'm getting used to it, I had to close my non-dominant eye for a split second to kind of reacquire my sight alignment, make sure everything was looking clean and good. And then from there, I could transition back to keeping both eyes open. But that took me a little bit of a second. I'm liking it. The trigger's feeling good. I still maybe need to adjust my grip pressure just a little bit because I'm just still slightly left of my point of aim versus my point of impact right now, but so far so good. We're still doing the slow fire. Now we're at 10 yards, so we're gonna do 10 rounds at 10 yards and see how we're feeling. And that magazine release would take me a second to get used to. 10 rounds, 10 yards. All right, so we're now 30 rounds in. That one felt the most natural out of all of them, which is surprising because that was much further away. So I'm starting to get a feel for the gun. I like the grip texturing that's on there. It's a little bit more aggressive than what you'd see on a Gen 3 or a Gen 5 Glock. Obviously, there's been some changes in the industry there, but The aggressive grip texturing has become a little bit more popular, and for me, I'm actually really liking that right now. So moving on through our slow fire, it's time for us to work on a little bit of drills, not for time, but just to get some impressions of how it feels in some other areas. All right, so we're 30 rounds in so far. We started off with our slow fire first impressions. Now we're going to continue on with first impressions, but we're going to do just a couple of drills, some other areas, see how it really feels. So I'm using a familiar holster setup for me, an inside the waistband appendix carry. So I'm going to do a couple of rounds first shot from holster, just feel how my draw presentation and the ergonomics of this grip are going to feel in my hand. So we're going to do this a couple of times. We've adjusted the target here, so we're at 7 yards right now. So I'm going to do just a couple of times, a relaxed posture. All right, that felt okay. So that was my slower speed. Let's go medium speed here. Here we go, just relaxed posture. That felt pretty good. And now let's go a little bit faster. Okay, so first impressions, single shot from holster. The grip angle is feeling good. I feel like I can get a really good grip pressure purchase on it, and it's not moving a whole lot of my hands. As you notice, I take a split second to reacquire a secondary sight picture after every single one of these shots, so that as I continue on through the series or in a defensive context, I'm capable of shooting again if I need to. But that's also something I'm noticing as I'm just getting used to this gun, getting some impressions on it, that I'm coming back to the target pretty nice. So I'm liking the way that this shoots so far. Okay, still in our first impressions here, but we're moving on to another drill. We're not yet on the shot timer, so there's minimal stress as we go through this process. I'm trying to focus more on what information my target and what I'm noticing from the gun as I go through the process. But I'm going to transition now into shooting a bill drill. So drawing from the holster, shooting 6 rounds. We're going to run that just a couple of times. First thing I need to do is I need to verify that I've got enough rounds in the gun. So I need to do a little bit of a reload here. So it's going to be 6 rounds from the holster. Again, not for time, it's minimal stress. Here we go. Okay, so that time, what I felt as I went through the process there is, I believe, we can check the footage, but I believe like my 2nd through 4th shot, the gun started to walk on me. So that tells me, was that me or was that the gun? Those are the things that now as I shoot it again, I want to pay attention to. What I'm going to assume is that it was me. So I want to adjust my grip pressure and make sure that I'm actually getting right back down to that point of aim before I'm pressing the shot. So let's do this again here, 6 rounds from the holster. And much better. So that tells me that it was me. I had still one that drifted, but I kept everything else pretty consistent in there. That came from increasing my grip pressure from my supporting hand, my non-dominant hand. Let's run it one more time. Again, that's the slow, a medium, but now let's get a little bit faster and see if we can maintain our accuracy. And we did. That felt really good. A little bit low on my first drive. Again, that's going to come from me, my posture of raising my shoulders probably a little bit too much and driving down. But I'm liking it. The gun's feeling nice and consistent. I'm able to maintain that grip pressure and control over it as I go through recoil. So that was our bill drill. We're going to transition into our last drill for the first impressions before we run it through our baseline assessment. All right, the last portion of our first impressions, we're going to run the Todd Green fast drill. From the holster, we're going to draw. We're going to shoot 2 rounds to the head zone, perform an emergency reload, and 4 rounds to the chest. So I need to set the gun up in order to achieve this. What I need is a magazine with 1 round in the gun and 1 round in the chamber before I return back to the holster. So I'm going to draw 2 to the head, reload, 4 to the body. Again, no time, minimal stress as we go through this process. All right, so my first shot there, I lost my front sight. I drifted over the top of it. I was moving too quickly. I wasn't paying attention to the information that I really needed to be through the process. So I want to factor that in on the next go. Let's set this up. All right, same drill here. right, so what I noticed on that last one, and I haven't talked about it yet, the serrations on the slide. So on the Gen 5 Glocks, or like on the Shadow systems that I shot the first portion of this series together, there's that texturing and serration on the front, so I'm able to kind of work over the top of my hand to get the slide to go forward. This gun does have that, but they're a little bit further forward on the slide, and so I actually slipped off the top of it. I was able to catch it with my thumb and get it to go back into battery, but that delayed me a little bit. So as I noticed that through my process, I increased how fast my follow-ups were going to be when I transitioned back into the chest zone. Let's run it one more time, and let's see how we feel. All right. All right, in my worst run of the day there, my supporting hand completely missed the gun as I got on there. So those two headshots are complete misses. They're on the paper, but they're not in my acceptable hit zone. So that's something that I really want to pay attention to as I transition now to the racetrack and I collect this data. All right, moving on into the series. Joining me now is Jason, our Director of Training here at Frontier Justice. We're moving on into, I keep calling it the racetrack, but we're moving on into the racetrack here. So we're going to collect some data. We're shooting the Wilson 5x5. So we've got fresh paper that's hung up there. We're going to shoot the same drills that we have shot already in the series and that we'll continue to shoot. And again, we're shooting the Ruger RXM. So Jason, I'm going to be starting on stage 1 here today. 5 rounds from the holster.
5 rounds from the holster, copy. This time you need to try your firearm and make ready. All right, verify 5 rounds from the holster. Just shoot, understand the drill.
Yes.
Stand by. Perfect. 2.74.
2.74 total time, and my first shot was outside of there. I kind of over traveled there with my dominant hand. So let's factor that in as we continue on. So stage 2 is gonna be strong hand only. Strong hand only 5 rounds.
5 rounds. Need to verify you're good to go.
I am good.
Good to go. All right, shooter. Understand the drill. 5 rounds, strong side hand only. At the whistle. Stand by. Having difficulties here.
So jumping back in here, we had some difficulties with our shot timer. We got it fixed though, so we're back to doing the Wilson 5x5. We're at stage 2. This is gonna be strong hand only.
5 rounds, strong hand only. Shooter, stand by. You ready? Back to holster. 4.65.
Okay.
4.65.
Still had one that drifted out on me as I drove forward. I'm struggling to find that front sight just a little bit. For me, I shoot red dot primarily, so that's battling. That's a me problem. I don't know that that's a gun problem. But overall, not too bad. A decent time there. We're going to have to factor in that miss. But let's move on. So now we're going to be doing stage 3. It's 5 reload in 5. So I'm going to need to set the gun up in order to achieve this. Jason, if you're comfortable.
This time, go ahead and verify, set it up.
All right. Let's see here. There we go. So I got 5 total in the gun, Jason, and then I got a spare mag here off to my side. So I believe I am ready.
All right, 5, reload 5 at the beep. Shooter, stand by. Clean, 6.37.
637, I ran it clean there. I factored in earlier from my first impressions the serrations that I was talking about, and I got my hand a little bit more intentionally in that space. So that helped me out quite a bit. We're ready for stage 4. That's going to be 4 to the body and 1 to the head. And I believe I am ready, sir.
All right, shooters, stand by. 4 to the body, 1 to the head, at the beat. Three, 3.38.
Okay.
3.38. Clean.
Nice, not bad. Okay, I'm glad I got those in there because I really had to get on the gas pedal just a little bit. I got snagged up on my cover garment, but
that
finally got that acquisition out there, got them pressed off, and I landed them. So
Absolutely, a lot smoother than that. Good run. Good
all
run.
right, so that was the Wilson 5x5, our racetrack assessment. We're going to add and total everything up and see how it stacks up alongside everything else that's on our rental fleet. We're going to continue this series. But if you want to come out and try the Ruger RXM yourself, we've got those on our rental fleets at all of our Frontier Justice locations. So come on out, try it out with us, and stay tuned. We'll see you next time.